I'm Ashton Addison from EventChain for Investment Pitch Media and FinTech News Network. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Michelle O'Connor, the VP of Marketing and Community for Uphold. Michelle, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Hey there, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I'd love to kick off the interview with, for those who haven't heard of Uphold, I know it's getting quite large within the community, but there are still some that haven't heard of it. If you could give a brief explanation on what exactly is the Uphold platform and how is it disrupting multiple industries?
Sure, so thanks for that. We are seeing a huge surge in growth, so it has been wonderful. I've been here since 2015, and I can say the last 3 to 6 months for the company overall growth has been amazing. As a platform, we're a digital money platform or a digital wallet. What does that mean? That essentially means if you take it to a level of what we use now in legacy money and bridging old and new money systems. So legacy money is your credit cards, your bank access, paper money. Those, especially now in the time of COVID and being in a pandemic, are becoming less and less used, especially paper money. We're bridging that to new money systems, Bitcoin, Ethereum, blockchain, but also things like stablecoins and other digital assets. So, and the way that Facebook, Twitter, recently a little bit difficult for Twitter, but I took the idea of socializing and really made it global. Mm-hmm. We're doing that for financial services.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the Uphold application is pretty expansive, and as a money platform, normally companies only have, one or two or three currencies, US dollar and maybe some of the major currencies. But Uphold has 27 national currencies as well as cryptocurrencies in the platform. So it's super interesting how you have the most expansive selection out of all of the platforms. Is there a reason behind this, and are you seeing an uptick from with currencies from emerging countries?
So when we look at what we're offering as far as fiat currencies, traditional currencies, it really is wanting to diversify a more recognized asset. So people, especially that aren't used to cryptocurrencies or holding gold or other alternative forms of investment, recognize US dollar. They recognize euro. They know what it means. It's tangible. It's inherently trusted to some extent. Giving that opportunity to have a blockchain address for a traditional asset like that is important, and it's something that really is now just becoming more widely used. We see growth in areas where we have bank connectivity a lot, in that they're bringing money on and taking it off. But a lot of people in we're very popular in Latin America. So a lot of our customers are getting paid, and they choose to get paid in USD because they want to hold USD. But in their physical location, they can't hold USD, and they can't access it either because of government regulations, or they don't have they're underbanked, so they don't have the ability to go to a bank that's a multi-currency function. So we really give them a global wallet that enables them to determine what they want to hold and how they want to hold it without barriers of traditional legacy finance.
Definitely. And it seems like there's a lot of different parts to Uphold, and one of them being able to switch between currencies whenever you'd like, but another one being the cross-border payments or remittances, to be able to transfer to friends and family internationally. Are you seeing a major trend in both of those aspects inside of Uphold right now?
Sure. So it's interesting, actually. Just before we got on this call, one of our tweets mentioned that you can send money to anyone with just an email address, and people said, "Oh, what does that mean?" And it really is as simple as that. If you have an Uphold account now, I could email you, as we're on the call, money, any form that I want, that I have on my account, anywhere in the world. That's a really cool thing that hasn't been done on a global scale. There, are obviously companies that do it regionally specific or currency specific, but we take that and 10x it. So I could send you gold if I wanted to. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're definitely seeing a lot more peer-to-peer, especially in the time of COVID when people aren't traveling as much. And they're also using it more on a day-to-day basis for traditional, sending funds to pay your rent or asking, hey, can you send me this on Uphold because I have the debit card. And I want to, go to the store or whatever it is. So we're definitely seeing a lot more of the day-to-day use because we changed our fee structure back in January to make it less prohibitive and more appealing for everyday use.
Yeah, that's great that you've done that, and it looks very advantageous to transfer between assets, especially in these daunting times. And it's funny you mentioned COVID, because I was going to ask, how has Uphold been affected by COVID and also just the payments industry in general? Is it a positive effect or a negative effect? And also, could you touch on, moving past COVID, the long-term, outlook on payments with Uphold?
Sure. So it always feels strange to say this because during a time when there's so much, financial unrest, it's a pandemic, people are experiencing health crisis. We in our space, because we offer alternative assets, especially with the U.S. specifically, there's been, I think, $3 or $4 trillion, possibly more, printed. So we're experiencing currency debasement, and there's distrust in the USD for the first time in really a long time. People are seeking alternative forms of currency and assets to hold and invest in. So we have seen exponential growth since March. I think 235% year over year, and month over month it has been substantial. We've had our 3 biggest days of signups this month, and I think we're halfway through July, right about. So it's been record setting for us, and it's been really great. We have, as a team, we're always remote supported. So we have our offices, but we can always kind of work where we want as long as we check in. We're always adopted and adapted to Slack and kind of being online and reachable. So the whole shelter in place part of COVID and having to stay at home really didn't impact our team. If anything, we're already so used to it that we just kind of, instead of being at the office, people are home. And some of us who have kids, there's more kids in meetings, to the side or whatever. But all in all, as the company, it has been a substantial growth period for us. And our community as well has shown doubling down interest and really sharing word of mouth and becoming advocates for what we offer and helping educate as well. So that's been really interesting to see.
Well, that's great to hear. And you also just mentioned about the distrust in the dollar. And I know that Uphold has at least 6 stablecoin assets inside of the platform, along with other cryptocurrencies. I'd love to hear your opinion on, are these stablecoins on Uphold legitimate alternatives to the American dollar, or are you seeing a use case within the platform that they're gaining traction?
So we definitely see them gaining traction. When we thought to launch the Stablecoin Center, it was, instead of launching one, we want to launch an option because everyone has the stablecoin that they prefer to use. There are different use cases specifically within the Stablecoin Center that we have now. And we said, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to look at the top by market volume, the top by demand, and we're also going to see what our community has asked for over the last 6 to 8 months. And as long as those are projects that we can support, we're going to list them. As far as use case, there are some partners that are not public yet that will be using 1 to 2 of the assets in the stablecoin for global company payroll disbursement. So big scale use because it's solving a problem that they haven't been able to solve, or looking at the fees that they were paying through their traditional payroll service and then their employees paying huge fees when they would have to convert between different assets, it just no longer made sense. So it actually was another COVID moment where they were stuck at home. And I think thankfully one of their employees was an Uphold user and had seen a blog post and said, hey, why don't we use this, or why aren't we doing this? So the conversation happened a lot faster than it kind of traditionally has, but it's been interesting to see where instances like that are being used. I also see stablecoins in Latin America being used far more prevalently than possibly in the US near term, because the US, we don't have as much volatility as they do, and there's not necessarily the need. We're more speculative, they're more real world. We need this type of asset. So it's interesting to see it as evolve. I imagine fairly soon there will be digital versions issued by, different countries for their traditional currencies. So it will only evolve from there. So it'll be interesting to see if these stay, or if an actual, official government stablecoin comes into play, and what that looks like.
Definitely. There's a lot of talk about central bank digital currencies coming up, and nothing yet. But for right now, stable coins, running on the blockchain seem to have those advantages, especially with the fee reductions, as you mentioned. And that's great to see that corporations are seeing the advantages in those fee reductions as well. And talking about fee reductions, and we touched on it a little bit at the beginning, but you mentioned transferring between assets. If you could clarify, is completely free, or there's no fees. And I'm curious, is that a sustainable model for Uphold, and what's in it for Uphold?
Sure. So there's no trading commission. So there is a spread. Our spread is generally, compared to our peer group, 30 to 40% lower. And we did that consciously. So we can't, as a business, to your point, everything can't be free, because otherwise our investors wouldn't take too kindly on that. Our board, it would be wonderful, but it would be non-sustainable, right? What we look at is, what is a sustainable spread, and what is our offering, and how do we stay competitive? And that's really where it is. So we continually look and evolve and dynamically iterate what the market demand is, and from there say, okay, this is what it looks at. I recently had a campaign where 5 to 8 of our different Twitter surveys were saying, hey, what asset do you use? And called out challenging people to find it cheaper on 6 of our peers. It couldn't be done. We were cheaper overall. But it was interesting to see people say, oh no, conceptually it's cheaper because the way things were presented, but dollar for dollar, or pound for pound, or euro for euro, you get more on Uphold across the test was Bitcoin, XRP, and Ethereum.
Oh, that's really interesting. And that is very attractive, and I can see why that's helped with the growth of Uphold right now, and you guys have so many users. And I want to move to, we're nearing the end of the interview, but I want to talk about the future a little bit. I know that Uphold has some releases that they're planning in the very near future. Can you talk about what's next for the users on the Uphold platform?
Sure. So it feels like, again, the past probably since January, it feels like it's been a massive release a week or every other week. It's been a really busy time. I'm excited that we should be going live any minute now with automated trading on our platform, which has been a very highly requested feature. And essentially it means that playing on the anything to anything theme that we offer, our users will be able to set and forget any transaction they want between any asset on our platform and from their bank account. Debit card and credit card will be rolling out in just a few weeks. So essentially you can set a recurring payment. I want to buy $50 worth of, insert your favorite crypto or gold or any other asset we support here. Outside of the US, they can buy US stocks. So it could be that as well. Or you can say, hey, every month I want to send my best friend $10 worth of XRP or $10 worth of Bitcoin, you can set it to use that too. So essentially everything you can do on Uphold, you can now automate. If you wanted to set an auto save to save toward a vacation or save toward buying a car, which someone did using our debit card last week, you can do that. So that's a feature that we rolled out today, and it should be live for our users. So if it's not in your app on the mobile app, just it would be in the update.
Very cool. Well, that's all the time that we have, Michelle, but it's been a pleasure speaking to you about Uphold, and congratulations on the growth of the platform so far.
Thank you.
All the best with the company moving forward, and let's follow up in the near future.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Take care.